Today we have a really cool treat for you. We are making Oreo Cookie Protein Crusts. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. I always make my sugar-free cheesecakes with no crust at all. So I've baked them that way for years and years. And my daughter really wanted an Oreo crust. She had it out at a restaurant and it was her birthday and that's what she asked for. So I sat down and I tried to figure out how can I make an Oreo crust that's actually healthy, that has protein, that doesn't have sugar, and that actually tastes like an Oreo crust. So that's what I'm bringing you today. This is super delicious. You're gonna love it. And let's get started. So you're going to need half a cup of chia seeds. You're gonna need half a cup of cocoa, unsweetened cocoa powder. You're gonna need half a cup of chocolate whey protein powder, a third of a cup of melted butter, and the equivalent of half of a cup of sugar. And I'm using a liquid sucralose, but you can also use Splenda, or you can even use stevia if you would like. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and that's all it takes. So I'm gonna start by putting in my chia seeds. Chia seeds are so great. You can actually grind it up to make your own meal, just using a Vitamix or your own blender, or I know some people even use coffee grinders. And instead of using flour or using other things, you can use your chia seed. And what's so fantastic about it is you get tons and tons of fiber, tons of omega-3 fatty acids, and it tastes really yummy. It's perfect for an Oreo crust. Now we're gonna add in lots of chocolate. So dump that right in there. Make sure we get all the chocolate goodness out. And we're gonna add in our chocolate protein powder. So this is a whey protein powder. And I'm just gonna give that a little mix so everything's all our dry ingredients are mixed in nicely. There we go. So it's a nice even consistency all the way through. And now I'm gonna add my sugar substitute right into the butter. So I can kind of eyeball it. I know about how much I'm putting in, but you wanna make sure it's about half a cup. Now, if you like things a little bit sweeter, you can go ahead and make it a bit sweeter. And then vanilla. And I always like using a real vanilla. I'm not a fan of the artificial vanilla. We're gonna add our teaspoon. I'm gonna add it right to my butter. And give that a little swirl. And I'm gonna dump that all right in here and start mixing. And don't worry if it seems like you have a lot of powder. You don't, because you need your crust to be nice and solid. So we're just gonna keep working it in here until we start to get the consistency that we want. And you'll notice as the butter is working its way through, you're gonna start to notice that it's actually gonna look a little bit like an Oreo crust, and that's because of the chia seeds. I don't know if you can see there how great that consistency looks, but it looks perfect. And you want to make sure when you're mixing it that there's not dry areas. So you'll be able to tell everything will turn nice and dark like an actual Oreo cookie. And you should have no lighter areas of powder. Everything should look really consistent. All right, so now our Oreo batter is completely ready. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna press this into the pan exactly like you would do with a real Oreo crust. And then we're gonna bake it in the oven at 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. I'm just gonna show you how I tap it in, and I just use my knuckles. So pour that all right into the pan. There we go. And now I'm just gonna use my knuckles like this, and I'm gonna tamp it down. And it doesn't have to be perfect. As you're tamping it all the way around, you're gonna notice you can get a nice even thickness all the way around. And the harder you tap it down, the more solid your crust is gonna be afterwards. So if you like a crust that's a little more crumbly, then don't tamp quite as hard. If you like one that's more solid like we do, then you're gonna tamp it pretty good all the way around. This is actually a fun job. You can get your kids to do it. So give it to them and tell them to tamp down the Oreo crust. There we go. We've got it all in there. It's a little bit hard to see in the pan, but it's perfectly smooth. Everything's ready to go. I'm going to toss it in the oven here for about 10 to 12 minutes at 350. All right, so our crust is ready. I'm going to pull it out of the oven and we're going to have a look and see how it turned out. This smells so good and it looks exactly like an Oreo crust. I know you guys can't taste it, but it tastes just like an Oreo crust. If you want to see some of our cheesecake recipes, check the description below for links or check out our channel. Please like, subscribe, and of course, I'd love to hear your comments. I want to know how yours turned out and what kind of cheesecakes you've made to go with this amazing crust. Thanks, guys.